Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Triathlete Podcast. I'm your host, Ram, and today I have a very special guest on the show, Jonathan Canonizado. Jonathan and I met through the Seattle Green Lake Triathlon group, and we interacted at one of the potlucks where I heard about a really fascinating story of how he went about recovering from injury for his triathlon. So, Jonathan, would you like to start by introducing yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan Canonizado, and I'm a fellow triathlete just here to share my story. So thanks for having me, man.
Cool. So, John, I think in our early conversation, you told me a bit about what you do right now and how you got introduced
hmm
uh, to multi-sport and, what kind of challenges you had as you were growing up. So would you like to just start by giving everybody a brief intro into that?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of what I do, I'm a medical social worker at Fred Hutch Cancer Center, and I just help with mental health for patients, going through treatment there. So that's my current everyday job. But for me, with the self care, it's the multi-sport and sport in general that kind of keeps me sane. You know, just to kind of go back a little bit, I just got started into triathlon specifically after kind of getting burnt out from doing marathon running and doing CrossFit for several years. And it wasn't really anyone specifically introducing me to triathlon. It was more of me just kind of finding something new to try. And then I saw the meetup.com groups, and I saw, oh, Seattle Green Lake Triathlon Group. Just went to one swim session, quickly got introduced to, very nice people, Connie, Steven, and then it slowly grew from there. And after, going to several sessions before really committing to a race, I did the I think the Lake Stevens triathlon was my first sprint, and I did that with Steven. And the famous story of me getting dropped by him because I dropped the chain. He didn't really help, and we shared at every single gathering that we have, and I'm sure we're going to share it again as soon as I see him again because I never let it down of him passing me, and then when I got to the top of the hill, since I couldn't change the gear, there was a cop going, "Oh, are you the dude that guy was asking about?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, he just told you catch up to him on the run," and so thus started a very good friendship and a good journey into triathlon because I've been doing it ever since, and worked my way up to doing an Ironman and then several relay Ironmans and a bunch of other races in between. But great friendships with the people there since then.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I think, we're not a very competitive crowd at a large scale, but, I'm sure there are internal rivalries like the one you just mentioned. And,
Oh yeah.
somebody's got, street cred more than the other after a race. So it's cool to hear about that.
I've been, yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. I feel like I finally got street cred after I did an Ironman relay, I think a year or two ago, and Steven and I caught up to each other on the bike. And it was just, I think, 10 to 15 miles of just attacking each other. I would go and pass him on a climb. He would pass me. In the end, he had better capacity and better lungs, and he just kind of beat me. And I was like, all right, see ya.
Uh,
Good job.
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Steven's a different league.
you need to get him on the show.
But
Like,
look,
yeah,
the path. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Hopefully he can join us sometime.
yeah.
Look, the path to fitness has not been a straightforward one for you. So, do you want
No.
to just walk through that a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, growing up, I mean, I had a bunch of health issues, I think since birth. And then I was born with muscular dystrophy. It was misdiagnosed. And my parents were thinking that it was, something far worse than that. But then muscular dystrophy led through like years of physical therapy and then delays in growth. So I didn't start really like walking and talking until probably age 5. And then in terms of keeping up with social cues and things in terms of general growth and development, I was way behind, and which caused some steep learning curves. So there's things that I really wanted to do, like to be just a kid, just go play, have fun, and I couldn't really do that. There's a story of me crying at the bottom of a tree because my god sister Mia could climb the tree and I couldn't. So I mean, there's things like that, but um, it went that way all through high school, and I would try to do activities that I had no business trying to do for the sake of trying to, I don't know, catch up in social cues and also catch up with trying to make friends. And it was really for doing things for other people and not really for myself. And it didn't really start happening until I think after college that I had to try to find fitness for myself just because I got really sick, got diagnosed with cochlear hydrops Meniere's disease, which is basically fluctuating hearing loss, but I was already born with congenital hearing loss. So it's just my left ear that works at 50, 60% at the time. And it's always been a challenge in like social and professional situations for me to be able to maintain my hearing. And uh, it was surprisingly my dad that got me into real fitness for myself. I was sitting in the throes of doing, you know, doing steroid injections into my ear every few months and just being super depressed. My mental health was just in the gutters, um, and he took it upon himself to kind of walk into my room one morning and was like, "You need to go for a run." Because he's a marathon runner. For him, running is his stress relief. And he's like, I don't care for you to do a race or do anything. It had nothing to do with competition. It was just more of just do 1 mile. You need to get out, and maybe we can find a different way to help with, help with just your overall mood. And we were already resigned to the fact that, okay, there's a chance that the doctors have said by the time I turn 29, 30, I would lose my hearing altogether. And it brought a lot of fear because I wasn't sure I could do my career as a social worker. We were already thinking, well, maybe I could become like a medical coder or biller or do something that didn't really have to talk to people. We were already looking at ways to try to learn sign language, that type of thing. So we were pretty resigned then. And I think I was 24 at the time when that kind of happened. And so I relented because my dad was just getting on me about it. So I did 1 mile with him. 1 mile became 3 miles, then 4 miles per doing it regularly. I slowly started seeing the weight loss kind of start to happen, and just my overall mood a little better, but the hearing wasn't improving. And then several months later, we just realized the treatments that I was getting with my previous doctor just wasn't working. We went down to San Diego and got a second opinion, and this doc just kind of changed the approach altogether and is going, you know, I know we've done the MRI scans and everything else, but did we ever do like full blood panels and everything else? And no, that wasn't what happened. So let's try something else. Let's have you work with a nutritionist. Let's try every diet under the sun, gluten free, low sodium diet, everything. And so once we started experimenting with that, then we realized the low sodium worked. And then he mentioned, hey, let's start having a diuretic daily, just to kind of clear the fluid theoretically from the ears. And then that started happening. And then we kind of put two and two together. His plan that he had for me to just clear the fluid and have me on this diuretic for the rest of my life. But then I'm slowly losing weight from like 230, 40 pounds at the time, all the way down to like 180. And it's like, okay, well, there's some benefit. Your hearing is fluctuating, it's going up. And then that's kind of continued on. It went to the point that I then went from just running just for general health to now doing races. I did a 5K race, 10K, 15K race. I was in North Carolina at the time, so just doing all of these races, and then it slowly built to doing CrossFit. And then CrossFit, it had its own separate set of challenges of learning different skill sets and things. And I think that's where it kind of got ingrained for me to have that try attitude, which works well with the title of your podcast here, because
Yeah.
I and my handle for Instagram is John Can Try. It became like a personal mantra of mine. I need to I thrive on having challenges for me to kind of continue on. So that's pretty much
Wow.
how it happened.
Yeah. Firstly, look, this is a deeply personal story, and I thank you
Yeah.
for being so open and sharing it. We want to provide a platform to folks like yourself to share their experience and how they've dealt
Mhm.
with it, and finally overcome the challenges that life threw at them. And I think
Mhm.
yours is a really great story and really inspiring. So thank you so much for being open and coming on the show. It is a funny coincidence that your Instagram handle is John Can Try, and the show is called Try Athlete. We both celebrate the spirit of trying, and that's
Mhm.
what we're trying to get through in our discussion here. So thanks so much about
Yep.
for sharing that. So going a little deeper into that, do you kind of remember the first time when you felt that you could exceed your original capacity? When did that confidence actually build? How far into the process was it?
Oh, it was 2 years into the process. Because I was just doing small races here and there, and I didn't really think I could go that far. But then, um, uh, it ended up being a charity challenge that I ended up doing. I did the 2015 Los Angeles Marathon. I didn't think I could do it. My dad, he had a full plan. He was coaching me from Bremerton at the time when I was in North Carolina, and I was going to be a charity runner for the National Kidney Foundation. Since at the time my social work world was being a social worker in the kidney dialysis units, and I wanted to try to uh, represent that world and kind of put a feature to it. So, but halfway through, I got like a stress fracture on my right foot, and I wasn't thinking that
Oh,
I was going to be able to finish the race. And then so I didn't run for 3 months until the race, and then I flew over, did the race. My entire family was there, and from my like I remember from miles 1 through 15, I figured, oh, this was the worst idea ever. I do not know why I'm here. I do not know why like I'm put in the other tent with all of these charity runners, trying to share their stories. I'm like, no one should listen to me right now because this hurts. And um, by mile 16, 17, I kind of realized, maybe I do have this capacity. It became a mental thing of just trying to get past that wall. As soon as I saw my parents and my family at mile 19, I was that was my saving grace. I saw my family just for a split second. They were all very enthusiastic. Um, and then I just went and finished that. And then even though afterwards I'm in a lot of pain from the marathon, I kind of realized I can do this. I can do a challenge that seems like the greatest thing in the world that shouldn't be accomplished. And
yeah.
it slowly grew to realizing this can be a metaphor for my everyday life of there are things that I can do that's going to be hard. So there's going to be days where my hearing is down and my mental health is down, but I know that I can get through that challenge and just kind of continue to serve my patients, the community that I serve, and that type of thing. And so, not having a challenge, not having a challenge, kind of became something that helped helped me decide to have a drive to do something. So that's why I always like to have challenges in front of me, whether personal challenges
Wow.
to kind of self development and growth, or physical challenges. And then that's why now I've gone ahead and done triathlons, Ironmans. I learned how to do Muay Thai, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, mountain climbing, way too many things. I have a friend that jokes with me like you're too good at everything. I'm not. I like having challenges to keep me motivated.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Interesting. Oh my
yeah,
God. That's fascinating. So you said 2 years of the process before you kind of felt the mental switch go off and you felt more sort
yeah.
of into it. Like, how did you keep motivating yourself for 2 years without seeing that
I
change? Yeah.
I didn't. It was a struggle the first 2 years because you got to keep in mind at that time as well. I'm in and out of the doctor's office, and then I'm getting told things where, oh, we're making some progress. Your decibels went from 70 to maybe 65. Oh no, it dropped out even higher. You're at 82. We may have to consider cochlear implants or a surgery. Um, which for for someone who needs cochlear implants, that means you're essentially taking out the use of your ear, and you're relying on electronic devices stronger than a hearing aid. But then moving forward, you're only ever going to hear electronic sounds. It's hard to describe. You can't hear the nuance of people's voices and the emotion of people's voices, that type of thing. So it was hard during that time. And then
Hmm.
as I kind of trusted the process, kept going it, and then I saw that, oh, my hearing is improving. Wait a second, my physical fitness is helping drive the improvement in my hearing to hold it. And then it gave me a little bit of hope that maybe I can have this life that I wanted, the career that I wanted of having longevity. Because I always had that fear in the back of my head that the shoe's going to drop, I'm going to lose my hearing, and I can't do something that I'm passionate about, which is helping people. And that's something that's always in the back of my mind, even to this day. Even though I've done all of these amazing things, there's always that worry that at some point my health is going to hit, and I can't do the things that I love, whether physically or like emotionally with the work that I do. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
interesting. So, was
hmm
there any trial and error involved in figuring out what makes you the most happy, or was it
That's
usually, was it a straight line?
not really a straight line. There's still a lot of growth. Even now, there's still a lot of growth, a lot of trial and error to figure out things. And then, you
Mm-hmm.
know, obviously, like once you reach a certain plateau in your training, even if you're training for a race or even if it's training for an event, you'll reach like a certain point where everything kind of starts to stay the same and becomes stagnant. That you kind of have to switch things up for a little bit. So that's why I always like
Interesting.
doing different things. So if we're talking from a triathlon perspective here, knowing that I'm training for this one particular A race that I have, which is Ironman Maple Valley, and then I trained for that. I committed a whole year to this training plan, and then I go ahead and do the race. It gave me a sense of motivation, a sense of pride, the camaraderie with all of the other athletes that gave me hope and a little security to do it. And then I go ahead and do the race. And then now after the race, I've accomplished this awesome thing. Now it's trying to figure out how do I have that structure again, and then find something different that will challenge me, and then also give me a sense of happiness. So it might not
Mm-hmm.
always be triathlon. There's other things that I wanted to try doing, like you know, getting a chance to get back into other activities that is just meant for me, not for me servicing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense, of me doing things because other people want me to do it. It's more of me, things personal for me. So doing martial arts, learning how to mountain climb, doing jujitsu, which
Yep.
sadly I had to kind of put a pause on since my shoulder surgery. So yeah, it's just a lot of things. That's what kind of motivates me
Yeah.
there, to just kind of keep my mental health in check. And so doing all of those fun stuff along with therapy, good combo. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, so you touched upon the next topic I wanted to discuss, which is when you and I actually met, and you
yeah,
spoke about the injury you had through mountain biking, which led to your shoulder surgery. So after achieving so much and training so hard and doing all these races, you ultimately did go a little too far and injure yourself. What happened there, and how have you been recovering from that?
yeah. So just to preface it, before I had the mountain bike crash, I just completed what I felt like was the greatest feat, which is uh, the Tour de Big Bear in Big Bear, California, which is a Grand Fondo cycling race. It is this test of endurance that can go to 70 to 100 miles with over, I think, 23 to 2,600 feet in climbing at high altitude. So that was my biggest challenge. I just accomplished that. And then I did mountain biking, and I thought in my head, I know cycling, I do road cycling, which cycling and mountain biking are two completely different things. And yeah, I crashed hard, injured myself, and being able to do something at such a high capacity and then having something just completely shut all of your fitness down. I had to rehab, not do the things that gave me, personal and mental joy of the self-care with working out, and then had surgery in January of this year, which really kind of was a big challenge, both physically and mentally, because now I see everyone doing their races, and I see the post of their personal accomplishments, and like I can't really do too much. It became the challenge of, can I put my shirt on without any pain? And that now I have to start back at square one, which is when I met with you at that potluck. Yeah, I was just in the beginning stages of trying to get back to recovery, and it was, the camaraderie of other people, of their support and motivation, just knowing that, well, this is now going to be your new race for this year, of just recovering. That's all. There's no personal challenge, nothing. It's just recover, get back to your foundation, and then you can kind of go from there. So
So you mentioned a lot about the camaraderie and the community, but it looks like you're a really positive person intrinsically as well. So when you're in a sort of a bit of a down moment, maybe after the injury or recovering, how
hmm
much of this is intrinsic mindset versus support you take from the community to get out of it?
uh it's about, I'd say about 60-40. 60 intrinsic, mindset, and then 40% of it is just going to be the motivation that I get, not just from like the community, but my family, close friends, that type of thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, uh, oh, it's interesting that you say that in your view, when you see me, I'm always inherently positive. With me and my mental health, it's a bit of an up and down. There are times that I'm not too positive, and
Hmm.
it becomes a personal challenge here. So it's a bit of that, and then it's also a bit of personal motivation to kind of get past that. Because if I go down that rabbit hole of feeling down or depressed, I'm not coming out. Like it takes a lot of work, and it's a lot of
Hmm.
hard work and support to kind of to do that. So thanks for thinking that I'm inherently positive. But yeah, it's a lot of work to keep that to do it.
Yeah. I mean, look, you and I have interacted a bunch, and I've never had even a hint that,
Hmm.
these were the challenges that you were facing, or that, social interactions were not the most natural to you. I think you come across as an extrovert, super confident, super positive. So I think,
Yeah.
kudos to you for maintaining that. So
Hmm.
yeah, interesting. And how does your future look in terms of the next type of challenges you're putting for yourself? So what is John trying to do 2024, 2025?
2024, 2025. Well, I right now it's still the challenge of getting my shoulder fully to 100%. It's right now it's sitting at 70, 80%. I still can't raise it overhead, like that if you're seeing on the camera there. But yeah, it's just getting there
Hmm.
so I can start doing the activities. I'm now boxing again, so seeing can I, for next year, the goal that I've always wanted to do is just train and do a jiu-jitsu tournament. I want to get back on the mat and do it in a safe way. So that'll be the challenge. And then also for 2024, yeah, I just want to get back into triathlon. I made the mistake of halfway through my recovery doing a super sprint, thinking, oh, it's just 0.25 mile swim. I can be okay. It wasn't, because that competitive edge got into me, and I went full blast on the swim. As soon as I got out of the water, my shoulder was just crying in pain, and I barely survived that. And then I'm able to still run, and running is the only thing that's giving me peace right now, because I can do that at 100%. And luckily, you had him on an earlier episode, but Santiago gave me a huge honor of asking for me to join him and his son on their relay, and I went ahead and did that, and it was, although it was painful, it was very rewarding just to see Santiago and his son kind of accomplish that, and I'm just glad to be a small part of that, just to help them in their accomplishment there.
That
Yeah.
was a really heartwarming story, honestly, to see Santiago and his son firstly, and then you coming back from injury,
Oh
tying it
yeah.
up with the run. I think it was just an amazing community moment. I feel, and
T-
based on your experience, actually, my wife and I might end up doing a relay. She's not into tri sports or anything of that nature, but knowing that there is a relay possible, we might end up doing like a short sprint
okay.
relay between the two of us, and if somebody else would
Yeah.
join, yeah,
That'd be awesome. And
yeah.
like, and at the finish line, to have Santiago there waiting, and then he's at the finish line, puts the medal on me, and we just have a hug at the finish line. I was like, that was the coolest moment ever. I don't think there's anything that can top that race moment. So yeah, that'll be top of the list for a very long time.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Cool. So, any advice for folks trying to get into this kind of lifestyle?
Yeah. It, for folks listening, obviously this is a very triathlon centric um, podcast here. But in terms of just any general fitness and goals for yourself, it's going to be a personal story for each person, and make sure it's something that is going to keep you happy. So if it's triathlon, awesome. Start in small baby steps. Work your way up to your first, sprint triathlon or anything else, just to kind of get a feel for it. And you don't need to have the fanciest tech ever to do your first race. Enjoy the moment, enjoy the camaraderie with other people. You will find the friendliest people at the start line, cheering each other on and kind of giving each other, positive feedback there. And then slowly grow from there, because the nice thing about any endurance sport, whether it's running, triathlon, or swimming, swimming and biking, like individual disciplines, you can always start small. And as your growth kind of goes into the sport, I feel like your personal growth in terms of mental health or things like that will grow with it. And it's just a matter of taking your time with it. There's gonna be times you're gonna get setbacks, injuries, lulls in training, things that are gonna feel kind of hard. But trust me, just getting past that, you'll continue to kind of have the growth and kind of have that positive impact from it. And then if it's not triathlon, you can take that mindset. I think in anything else, whether you're doing things like running your first race, you can take it into that mindset, doing things like mountain climbing, mountain biking, even jujitsu, just knowing that you're getting on the mat and you're doing your first roll, learning how to do the basics there. As you grow in that particular activity that gives you immense joy, the mental health, it'll slowly grow with work that you're doing. So it's always constant work. It's never something that you're gonna finish. Enjoy the journey is basically a long story short of what I want to say with that. The journey is where the important part is. It's not the end destination.
Great words. And I think that's a great note on which to
Hmm.
end this podcast. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Your story is really, really inspiring, and loved having you on the show. And hopefully, I'll see you in a race sometime.
Thanks. And I can't wait to see you at the start line, man. So thanks for having me. And I really enjoyed this
Yeah.
discussion. Yeah.